Hello, and I'm live. So today would normally be Sarah and I, but Sarah has a migraine, so she's not going to make it here today. So I think all I'm going to do today is just talk about hashing files for evidence reasons. And so I have a couple of articles, a couple of resources, etc., just like normal. And let's go ahead and give it a start. So why would you hash these things? Because hashing is metadata, and hashing can help you basically make a timestamp of when a file looked a certain way. So for example, if this video, for example, that was modified as it turned out that they first released in the summer of 2025, if they compared the metadata, the hash metadata to the original file, you'd be able to see that it wouldn't match, and so something was different. And this could be for any type of file. It could be for an image, for example, just even a photograph. If you move a pixel on that photograph, the hash is going to be different because the hashing is very sensitive. So I want to talk about how easy it is to hash your files today, and again, some reasons why. Okay, so I kind of showed you the reason why as far as Jeffrey Epstein's video goes, and I want to, before we go on, I want to talk about again that even the newest videos released in his files have questions about the jail footage. So again, you could compare something that's supposed to be the same and identify whether or not it's the same. Now, hashing a file is not going to tell you what was changed in the file, sadly. It's only going to tell you that the file was changed. And there should be a hash log so that you can see when the file was hashed, so that you can at least compare dates. But aren't necessarily that either, because sometimes you're just going to get the file itself, whether it's an image or a file or a video or something like that, and you're going to hash it yourself and compare it against what it's supposed to be. So we're going to talk about building a hash log. I even have a chain of custody log for you so that you can turn over evidence and check the hash then and make sure that it's logged that it was still the same file when it went to the next person, etc. So let's talk about this looks like, okay, there we go. So first of all, I want to this all has to do with digital preservation. All right, so I am going to share in our show notes, which are always on YouTube when we upload to YouTube tomorrow, the NIST Digital Evidence Preservation document. And this document on page 14 talks about hashing, but it's got a lot more than that. So if you want to check out, all of the information for it, it's definitely something to download and take a look at. But we're going to go to the chain of custody and what they say about hashing your files. So they say it's best practice is to hash digital images and other objects using a NIST approved hashing algorithm. And right now they're telling us that it is acceptable to use older hashing if you need to, or if you combine them, but they would prefer everyone use the, I believe SHA 256 in this one. So again, this document's going to have a ton of stuff on different hashing of files. Let's see. Let me get their table of contents here. So evidence sources, the background, physical media, even, right? And we're talking about digital here. So digital images and files start from page 6 and of course go on to page 13. Page 14 is what it looks like on my side. There's 14 here, but this is actually 3.2 and it's on page 7. So that's where the digital evidence actually pretty much begins. All right, again, that link will be available. So some of the reasons you're going to hash these files again is to prove your chain of custody. Now, if you're a citizen journalist, a citizen investigator, you're probably not going to have the ability to subpoena documents or files directly from different companies. You're going to have to deal with what you see online. And a lot of us deal with that first anyway, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to, as soon as you get, I'd say as soon as you start each session of investigation, create a folder for that session. And that folder could be your home folder where the originals are going to be. All right. So you'll download files. Sometimes you might have to take screenshots. That's fine. Take your screenshots, put them in that folder. Download the files maybe from the DOJ page, which I'm going to do a little bit later today in this session here, and get them all in that same folder. And then once you've collected them, these are not the ones you're going to do your analysis on. That folder then will get hashed. I like to hash a whole folder at a time because I get a really nice hash log as well as the regular hash file, and it will do every single item in that folder. It will not do subfolders, and we'll cover that when we get to that as well, because I've got exact instructions for you on how to use your own computer to hash files and hash full folders as well. So we are going to continue onwards, but again, chain of custody, if you hash the file when you collect it, then when you send it on to someone, you can hash it there with them, or they can hash it and compare it against your original hash. And that is how the chain of custody can prove that, okay, that's the same image, at least the same image that I turned in. Now, if I'm the person who's first collecting and I'm the shady one who's changing content, well, at least they know where to go to for where the buck stops, I guess, right? So if you're going to change content before you hash it, then that's also going to be pretty evident if somebody else looks at the original information or subpoenas that from the company or something like that, and then yours is different and hashed. It's going to at least let you know who did it, right? In that case, as long as your chain of custody is intact and logged. All right. We do have a log for you here in a moment as well. I have another article that'll be worthwhile for anyone who's interested to check out. And this is what makes it legally defensible. And that has to do with authenticity of your digital evidence. And this one really kind of goes in depth, including into electronic signatures, GDPR, etc. So I'm not going to read it directly, but again, this is going to be a resource that I'm going to share with you in our show notes. So I think one more, oh no, you might have, let's see, is this last? Yeah, two examples of when this stuff goes wrong. All right, the first one. So in this case, this actor, and I believe that's in India, but this actor had a charge of sexual assault on another actor, and the evidence was hashed, but turns out that that flash drive that had been hashed had been accessed a couple more times between when it was originally hashed and when the judge saw it. Now, again, this is where you're going to copy that so that if you need to access it and deal with this flash drive or with this piece of evidence, you're not touching the original, because as it turns out, when they accessed the flash drive, they didn't necessarily do anything to the data on that flash drive, but just accessing it wrote some small files onto the flash drive, which then changed the hash. And so it was a major issue because the hash of the flash drive, the original evidence, was not the same. So again, you're going to get your evidence and you're going to immediately make a copy, and that copy is going to be in your working folder, and the evidence is not going to be touched after that, except maybe to copy. Right? You're just going to copy the whole folder over and just work on it, and you're not going to touch the original folder. Okay, so again, here's one of the cases where it went bad. Another example, criminal conviction overturned due to the failure to authenticate social media evidence. All right, so this is in a criminal case. And again, this is one of those things where somebody took the screenshot of the social media and they hashed it at that point. But as it turns out, they didn't go and get the forensic image of it from the company, the social media company, rather than just using the screenshot. The screenshot can work in some cases, but it's not going to work in every case, especially if you have the ability to go and get the original data from the company that's hosting that data. That's going to beat a screenshot any day, because they're going to hash it on their end, they're going to transfer it to you, and then you can hash it on your end as well to make sure that it's the same, and then it comes directly from the platform. Whereas if I took my screenshot, again, I can have a million people around me, watching me take the screenshot and hashing it right then, but it's still not going to be as good at evidence as something that's coming directly from the platform. And if you can't get it from the platform, then this is kind of what you have to do. But again, hopefully you're also logging when you are collecting that evidence. I do have some screenshot tools I want to talk about. So if you do want to do, if you have to take the screenshots, you're not going to be able to subpoena at that point. Maybe you're one of the people working on the Epstein files right now, right? Then what you might want to be doing is, well, downloading directly from DOJ should be fine. Put them in that folder, hash them then. Everybody else who's doing it should all end up with the same hash, and originally should have the same hash as whatever the file on the DOJ website has as well, right? So those should all match each other. So that shouldn't be a problem, but it's when you have to take a screenshot that it might be a little bit different. And so for that reason, I've got a couple of tools you might consider using. Now, I sometimes will use some screenshot tools that will put dates on them, and notably the file name will be the date, and or that date stamp PDFs, so that when they're downloaded from the website using the tool, it'll give you that information. But likewise, Forensic OSINT, for example, is going to help you download the information and hash it. And there is a free Chrome extension so that you can use it to at least grab the first couple of pages of a website. Now, if you have one of those websites that are really long, I believe it's only going to do a certain amount of scrolling down to get you that data. But at least you'll have a good chunk of it with a hash, and maybe work around to get the rest of it, right? When you hash something and then you send it to another computer, you send it to whatever, the next person who gets it should be able to hash it and get the same exact information that was in your hash. So again, if Forensic OSINT hashes this for you, it's still going to be that same file that you have, and it's still going to have that same hash unless you do something to it, right? Okay, so again, this is one tool. The other tool that's pretty popular for this would be Hunchly, but I don't believe Hunchly has any, well, it says try it free, but I think this is going to be a free 30-day trial. Yeah, so in the case of Hunchly, you're going to have to, do a 30-day trial and possibly purchase it, whereas Forensic OSINT does have a free version. So, all right. This is an example of an evidence chain of custody log. So, for example, you have a flash drive of images. You've hashed the flash drive, and you're handing it over. You have your information that originally collected it, and then you're transferring it to down here from to. But this one doesn't have a hash section, and that's what I would build into it. I would build in the hash of up here and a hash in each transfer. Here's some more pages for transfers, a hash in every single one of these transferred from to blocks, right? So I will give you this one as an example, but if you're going to build your own chain of custody log, you might consider adding that bit in. And I'm going to just show you a really easy way to log just hashes, so you don't have to necessarily have, if you're not going to be transferring right away, or you can use as a reference to transfer, a way to collect your hashes. All right. So articles on chain of custody, I think it's really important as well. So I specifically, a video evidence chain of custody checklist. So I will be sharing this with you as well. And this is just the same sort of thing. You can download a video and you can hash that video as well, as we mentioned about the Epstein video, right? So another resource. Some hashing tools. So before I talk about these hashing tools, let me talk about the difference between hashing tools. So there's a bunch of hashing tools that you can download, and a lot of them are free. This one right here is free, I believe. Yeah, you can just donate to it if you want. Oops, I'm going to share it right. Let's go right here. There we go. Quick hash GUI, right? So there's a lot of tools out there for hashing, and a lot of them are free, and some of the upper end forensic tools have it built in as well. And like I said, Forensic OSINT has it built in, but you're going to want something that you can do something right on your own desktop as well, so that you can hash and compare files anytime you want to. The difference between using something like this and using your own computer is probably ease of use. This one, you're just going to download, you're going to run it, you're going to throw stuff, your files into it. This one looks older, but it does have 256 on it, SHA 256 on it, so it's going to be fine. But It is a third-party tool, so you don't know like what are the other things this tool does necessarily. We just did a webinar on checking your tools, checking who owns a tool, OSINT on your OSINT tool, that sort of thing. You would do that in this case. Try to make sure that you know what this tool is going to do, check the network tab, see what else it's doing as it's going along. But most of these are going to be pretty straightforward. I say most, but I want you to check every single one of your own yourself. And they're going to be somewhat easy to use. A lot of times drag or drop or just upload files. The other thing that they do that's sometimes much better than what you can do just using your operating system, because your operating system already has this built in. So that's one thing I want to highlight. Your operating system has this built in, but these tools will let you compare hashes faster. Your operating system one is going to hash it for you, and then you have to compare it yourself. Which a spreadsheet, you can check it on a spreadsheet. That should be fine for you to see if they're the same or not, right? But again, these tools have it kind of built in, so that is kind of nice. So we have Quick Hash GUI. I have a couple of other ones for you. This one's called Nearsoft, and all the ones I'm showing you are free. I think. I'm pretty sure, yeah, because then this GitHub one right here, of course, is also free. So this GitHub one's called Open Hash Tab, right? So there's a bunch of them out there. You have to decide again, do you want to put one of these things together, or do you want to use your operating system? Also, something like this GitHub one where you are going to be putting it together yourself. What you might also do, depending on how techie you are, you might go to Claude and say, Claude, I want something like this tool in my artifacts, in my Claude artifacts. And Claude can maybe recreate this. It just really depends on where they're getting data. And this isn't going to be somewhere where it has to get some secret data or some paid data. So you should be able to recreate and make your own Claude artifact hashing tool or Gemini code hashing tool, right? Okay, so we've talked about that. Why you might still prefer open source, or sorry, your operating system utilities. The transparency that's built in, there's no hidden logic, there's nothing that's going to, anybody else had to have any fingers in besides the, Mac or Apple rather, or Windows, Microsoft, right? So while many third-party tools export your hashes into a text file, this is just going to be a raw set of data that you can just put into any of your own files. So let me show you. I put a website on a page on my own website about hashing your files. So this is just going to stay up anytime anybody wants to see hashing your files. And where this is in my resources. So if you go to my resources, down at the bottom right now is hashing files. And this is just telling you how your operating system can hash them without any special software. All right. So the first thing I do explain kind of why you want to hash these things. But if we scroll down, I have the difference between Windows and Mac. For the Mac, I do have the file for it because I could make it right now because I was just on my Mac. So I have the file already there, really created for you. The Windows one I haven't, but it's not hard. All you need to do, we'll talk about the Windows one first, and you don't even need to create these files. You could just open PowerShell in Windows, right? And so if you're not familiar with that, go to your search, type in PowerShell, it'll find it for you. And then this is just the little bit that you're gonna have to paste in. You're just gonna paste that into PowerShell. But the C path is gonna be your file, right? So you're going to, if you wanna see that path easily, I think you can right click on any of your files and just copy the location of it. But how it's looking right here, I can tell that you also, if you were to open that up in a browser, you definitely get that same address. And you can then just type that into the PowerShell and you're on your way, right? Mac, similar, you open the terminal and you're just gonna type this little bit, and again, the path to your file, right? So, and right now I have these examples as PDF, but whatever your file is, right? Again, my preference would be folders. So I'm also giving you the way to do the folders. And like I said, I've already created the file for the Mac one, but here's how you do it for the Windows. All you're gonna do is you're gonna open up a text file, right? Brand new text document, TXT, and you're gonna rename it, and you're gonna turn it into a .bat. right? So it's going to be hash underscore drop underscore SHA 256.bat. BAT means batch, means do a whole bunch of stuff at once. Hash drop means you're going to drag and drop files onto this file, and it's going to hash them for you. So if you have a file folder with everything that you collected as evidence in the last hour, maybe that's how you're going to set them up. It's your date, doing a date timestamp, that sort of thing. And then you drag it, the whole folder, right onto this file. And in the folder, now you have a hash log, a hash log, a hash document that tells you about your hashing, and all this, just next to all the files that you have in that folder as well. Once you've created this new document and you named it this bat file, right? You're going to choose to edit. You're going to copy and paste this, everything bold here, from echo off all the way down to pause. And you're just going to paste that into the file, and that's it. Save it. Now, just leave it somewhere where you can easily drag and drop files onto it. You can put it on your desktop, for example. And anytime you have a whole folder, remember this one does folders at a time, you just grab that folder, drag it on there, and there you go. You're going to have completely hashed. Now, there's a bit of information as well for the Mac one, but like I said, I've already created the Mac version. I probably will create the Windows version at some point as well, just to make it easy. But all you're going to do in this case is you're going to download the hash folder zip. You're just going to unzip it. And then you have to, in Mac, it's very picky. You have to save this into your username file. So you're going to go to Finder, and you're going to go to your computer, and you're going to find the users, and you have to find your username and drop it in that file. All right, because it can't be anywhere else. Then you can, then after you do that, you don't have to do anything more with that file itself, but you do need to go back to your terminal. And if you don't know where the terminal is on Mac, all you need to do is go to your there we go. You press, so you do Command spacebar, and then that's that little search bar. So you can search for terminal. And in your terminal, when you first download this, you're going to put in here chmod and then +x hash underscore folder.sh. And basically that's going to allow that to run. Next, you're going to hash a folder. You've got your folder. It's in you see the folder in your evidence folder. So again, you might have some chain of folders that you have, but you need to do every folder that you want to be hashed has to be hashed independently, because a subfolder will not get hashed, right? So if I have a folder, and in that folder I have a subfolder that is like the snapshots of another piece of evidence, but most of the evidence is in the main folder, I will have to hash the little one as well as the big one. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to terminal again, and you're going to type in this little bit, /hash underscore folder.sh. And then you're going to, I would just right click on the folder, copy its location, right? So that's about halfway down the right click menu. And then you're just going to paste that after. So you'll have a space, paste it after. It should already have a /. That's all that you need to do. And again, once you've done that, you should have an internal log of all of the files that are in there with all of their hashes, as well as a little about page for your hash that you did as well, telling you when you did that hash, etc. So really not too hard. I do highlight something else down here, and this is about Mac. If Mac is telling you you can't open it because from an unidentified developer, when you're downloading tools, you can go to your settings and kind of allow that tool to run through. You can actually run this command first on your terminal to say, yes, this is allowed to run. And then you're going to, again, allow it to be accessed. All right. So that just removes the Apple quarantine. Simple enough, right? It sounds pretty simple. So, all right. So I do have a spreadsheet here that I set up very simple. This is my simple hash log. And I'm going to make that shareable so that anybody can grab that as well. But let's just do it as an example, a couple of different hashes. And I'm going to do them on my Mac. Yeah, I think I could probably just share my terminal window and show you. I don't know if that's wise. Well, I'll hash some files, and then I'll show you exactly All right. So anyway, here's the Department of Justice Epstein library, and I'm just looking for flight logs, and I'm seeing emails that say flight logs. But I am just going to go ahead and grab like 2 of these maybe. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and download 2 of these. There's one. So I'm going to go ahead and download it. And oh, I didn't even share that, did I? All right, spreadsheet. This is the spreadsheet, the simple sample spreadsheet I was telling you. Sample simple hash log, hash, file name, date, right? So that when you send it on to someone, you can go and grab that information. Maybe I'll put comment over here as well, just because you might want to explain what it is. All right, and then let me go back to the DOJ library because Sarah wasn't here to tell me I wasn't sharing it. All right, Epstein library from the DOJ. And I'm going to scroll down. I looked for flight logs. Again, I'm getting emails about flight logs, which not necessarily what I wanted, but I'm just going to work with it right now. So the first one, here's a PDF. I'm just going to go ahead and save that one. And we'll just save it to, I'm just going to save it to my downloads right now. Actually, no, I'm going to make a folder for it. So I know you can't see, but I'm making a new folder right now, and I'm just going to call it Epstein Originals, March 11, 2026. All right. So I created that folder. I'm saving a couple of these to that folder. All right, so I'm going to go back, get another one, and save that one to that folder as well. All right, now that I've saved that to that folder, let me take a look at my terminal. So in my terminal file, again, I'm going to go back here, and I know I have the, I can do individual files, but I want to do the whole folder, and I know that I have it in the right spot already. So I know all I need to do is take this bit, type that in there, and get the, let's see. All I need to do is grab this bit right here. I can copy that first chunk of it. Remember to get that dot in the beginning if you're using a Mac. I'm throwing that into my terminal. And then after that, I'm going to have to type in or copy in my file name. So let me go back to my download files. And again, all I'm doing in my download files, I'm just right-clicking on the folder itself, not internal folder. About halfway down, there's a button that says copy. You can also hold down, I believe, Option and see what it kind of means, but I'm going to go ahead and click that copy. And now I will put that into this file again. And what I'm going to do after that is I'm going to show you the log and that sort of thing. So let's see, folder hashing complete. All right. So now let's see. Let me change the view. So I'm going to stop the share here. And I'm going to switch the view so that you can see a different file. Let's see. All right, so here's the file. So I have my Epstein originals. And again, I just threw 2 originals in there. So looking at those originals, you can see here's the first one, here's the second one. I've got a folder hash record. This is going to tell me when I hashed it, right? So you can say here's the manifest file for it at the time, et cetera, that I hashed it. How many files were hashed? 2. All right, then I can jump into the hash manifest, and here's the details for those 2 files. You know what? I'm not even showing that. Someday I'm going to get good at this. All right, folder hash record. Let me show you that one first, and then we'll show you the hash manifest. So let's see. We're going to do folder hash record. Okay, there we go. I am so sorry that I don't show these well. I'm just, Anyway, here's our manifest, right? So this is going to be, or sorry, our hash record. This is going to be telling when we hashed it. We've got a date. We've got the amount of files hashed, size, etc. What system did it? What was the Mac OS version, etc. So we've got this file done. Now, the actual manifest that shows us the hashes and again, there's only 2 in this case. So there's my hashes. Very simple, just 2. Of course, the more you have them, and it's the actual name of the file over on the side over here. So over here's the name of the file, and this is the actual hash. So if I were to take this second file, EFTA 0394409, whatever, if I changed it, it would hash differently. But if I sent it to somebody, I would use that chain of command, the chain of custody log, and I could fill in the information, including the hash, and then we could hash it together to see if that hash matches. And ideally, it would match the same exact hash, and then somebody else could take custody at that point, knowing that it was the same thing that I claim to have gotten from DJ. Somebody else could download the same exact file off of DOJ and hash it and see if it matches mine as well. And it should, because I haven't done anything to the file. But again, if I change the file in any way, then things change, right? What you do next, though, is you're going to make sure that you go and grab those files again. So let me go back to the window. This set of files, I am going to go up to the folder level. I'm going to copy that folder and I'm going to save it as another folder. And I might put working on it and the date that I'm working on it, that sort of thing. At that point, those hashes inside the folder and the hash manifest don't necessarily matter that much, but I tend to leave them alone because you can tell the date on them. It's not like it's going to mess up. And if I hash again, it'll hash these 2 folders as well, or these 2 files as well inside that folder, right? So it just helps me keep a separate thing. So I know that if I open something, especially on another computer or something, then this folder, something gets written to that folder, it's not going to mess up my originals. All right. So that would be my working folder. I think that's about all that I wanted to say here. Now, I mean, Sarah's not here to help and throw some other stuff in right now. She does have a lot of content to add to this. I will tell you that. And she'll probably write about it tomorrow on LinkedIn. So if you're watching this live, wait until tomorrow. But if you see it on YouTube, she may have already written up what she's thinking about it by then. And I think that's it. I think I'm going to pull the plug early. I don't have a slot file for you. That's something Sarah usually pulls. So I think that's all. Thanks for being here.